Hi, I'm Michael and welcome to my urushi studio. Today I will show you what you can put on the pen which is not lacquer. So what you can add to lacquer or put on the lacquer or under the lacquer on a design or during working with the pen. I will start with charcoal powder, which could be boring, but it's the best way to achieve matte surface, and it's very matte surface. It's used for creating contrast between black and black, but where one black is shiny and glossy and the other black is matte. The most beautiful designs I have ever seen on a pen were created with charcoal powder, not with gold or silver or any precious metal or raden. So it was created with just simple, humble charcoal powder. It's very fine charcoal powder. It's called sumi, and you really need it if you want to build designs which are thicker. So if you want some part of the designs to be much thicker than the others and still black, you add this urushi, then charcoal powder, then add another layer of urushi, and so on, just to you build the thickness of the design with charcoal powder. Another additive which is very interesting, and you could see it on my pens, is kanshitsu-fun. Kanshitsu-fun is a powder in Japanese. I don't know Japanese, but I tried to learn at least some things about urushi terms. So this is kanshitsu-fun. It's granulated cured urushi. So you have to put urushi on the glass or some other surface where you can then remove just urushi layers from it, and you build quite a substantial thickness of those layers. You remove it, you cure it like extremely hard, and then grind it and fraction it to different grits of this powder. This one here is 48, so I don't remember what it means exactly, but it's quite fine. There is only one finer, which is 100, and black happens to be in a 200 grit also, but it's almost like a powder. Like there are no granules, nothing substantial in it. I do have red, green, black, blue, and yellow kanshitsu-fun. You can use it with the same color of urushi or with contrasting color of urushi. You can use it as a something which gives very strong structure or texture on the pen, or just gives some twist with the color. You can mix it with some other additives like metal powders or metal shavings or gold or silver or some other pigments. In Japan, mostly natural pigments are used, so pigments which are traditional, which were easy to obtain without advanced chemistry. So mostly earth colors like cinnabar, mercurium sulfide, as far as I remember. It's also called vermilion, so for red, but there are some more. But later, especially right now, you can have any pigment imaginable, from stuff like this, which is very blue. I don't know how to even call it. I don't know all the names of the colors. Through some other extreme or very intense pigments, and you can safely mix them with urushi because they are very stable and they are tested with different oils and acids, and you have to check before mixing, of course, how they work and how they behave, or just read the description, because a lot of them are just so inactive that they are very safe to use with different kind of oils or lacquers like urushi. Here is the titanium oxide, which gives the white color. I sometimes use titanium oxide, sometimes use the powder made of eggshells for white. I do not use a lot of white color in my designs and my projects. Maybe in the future it will be more, but it's something which is interesting. Another thing is powder made of very fine powder made of shells. It gives some mother of pearl look to transparent urushi. It's extremely fine. You have to use it. I just keep it away from me because it's so fine that if inhaled, it could be dangerous. So when I take it from the container and use it, I usually wear a mask. Okay. Other things. Here is the eggshell powder I was talking about. It's not so fine as this titanium oxide I showed you later, so it gives some texture, it gives some structure to the urushi. And here comes metals. So this is bronze, it's bronze powder, it's copper powder, here is a tin powder, iron which reacts with urushi, it changes color, it helps to create some patina look on some designs, and aluminum which is quite stable in connection with urushi. Then we can move to eggshells. I was talking about eggshells. You can use different kinds of eggshells. You usually have to separate this. This is an I don't remember what actually is that. It's not very useful, this one. I just used it for experiments. But you can easily press it on the pen, crush it, and create such broken structure which could be very attractive in connection with some interesting color of urushi or transparent layers of urushi. Okay, moving on to more precious materials. So it will be gold and silver. I use both silver and gold leaves. Here they are. I showed them in one of the videos. It's exactly the same leaf, the same kind of leaf is used, which is used for gilding in Europe. This is transfer gold here. It's 23 karat as far as I remember. And these are two types of silver. One is loose and one is transfer, so much easier to use. Okay. And one is thinner, one is slightly thicker. They behave slightly differently, so you can use this. As far as gold is concerned, maybe wait. There's more silver. This is very fine silver powder, very similar to the finest powder used in Japan. And I have two different silver powders from Japan of two different kinds. One is flat particles. I won't show it. Maybe just one of them. The packaging of them is ingenious because it's just a piece of special paper which is folded in a very smart way, not letting anything to go out of this packaging. Okay, not very exciting, just a whitish powder, nothing exciting. But once it's on the pen and once it's polished, it really changes and it really brings the shine. And of course, it depends on the idea you have and on the procedure you apply to such powder and urushi in connection with it. But it's really interesting to experiment. It's a very difficult process. It's extremely difficult, and it's probably a lot of. It will take me a lot of time to learn. Here is gold, which looks like just a yellow powder, and here are something which is a great substitute for gold imported from Japan. So those powders and some of the leaves which are available in Japanese suppliers of urushi materials. It's edible gold. It's edible gold in larger particles and edible gold in small particles, very similar to the most rough powders based on the leaves, so the flat powders available in Japan. So it's a great substitute for the biggest ones, the roughest ones, and it's a great substitute for such leaves, and I use them a lot too. To use this, you need a lot of different tools because those metals and those powders are very difficult to handle. So I use different brushes. Some of them are with squirrel hair. The best ones, as far as I remember, are squirrel and rat, maybe, I don't remember exactly. They are very delicate. You have to use them just to put the powder on the surface of the pen or just to press the leaf to the pen. Some of the gilding brushes are usable. You have to experiment. And those are the tubes with different kind of meshes at the end of the tubes for sprinkling those powders. So you put the powder inside. This one is for rough powders like kanshitsu-fun, and you put it inside and then sprinkle it on the surface you want to cover with this powder. Those two ones are much finer, especially this one. I thought that in Japan only bamboo and some traditional materials are used, but I recently talked to my suppliers in Japan and urushi artists there, and they said 90% of them are using aluminum because it's cheaper, it's much easier to clean in ultrasonic bath, and it's just much more convenient, and it does not differ in any way from these bamboo ones. It's only more convenient. That's it. So if you want something traditional, yes, of course, buy the bamboo ones, but aluminum are much better in many ways. Going further, we have raden. So mother of pearl. I have different pieces of mother of pearls. Here is the very small broken pieces of like yellowish mother of pearl. Here is different kind of mother of pearl, and I don't know, I don't remember how is it called, but it's not exactly mother of pearl, but something similar of a different name, but you can easily call it mother of pearl, no problem. It's very difficult to cut it. To make those very thin long stripes, you should use laser cutter, laser plotter to cut it. And here are more. I have much bigger pieces of mother of pearl, but they are fused. So there are a lot of smaller pieces of the same kind of material, but fused together. I will show them in a second because I keep them in another place. Here they are. They are huge. And it's much easier to cut them because they are prepared for much easier cutting with maybe not scissors, but very sharp trimming knife or kiridashi I used in my workshop, and it's much easier to use this kind of it's natural mother of pearl, but from the smaller pieces, those pieces here you can see these pieces are more or less this size, and they are fused together. So you can easily find the area you want to use and cut it out, cut to the smaller pieces with the knife or anything similar, and use it. Some of them are really beautiful. Look at this. It's incredible. It's fantastic. And this one here. And one more. cool. Great. You can also grind those pieces of mother of pearl and make different kind of powders with them, and then use them very similarly to kanshitsu-fun. You have to be mindful of your safety, because mother of pearl, when airborne in a form of dust, is extremely dangerous to your lungs. So be careful and try not to inhale anything without a mask or respirator of any kind when working with mother of pearl. I wanted to show you some other things, which is called, this is copper. It's copper leaves. They are much bigger than those silver or gold ones. They behave more or less the same. They could react with urushi in some ways, but they are much cheaper. So when you start learning and want to experiment with metal overlays, with metal infused with urushi or bonded with urushi in many ways, start with those slag metal. It's called slag aluminium, so aluminium, copper, and some other metals which are much cheaper, very easy to use. You can experiment with them. They look like gold, for example, in case of this one. So you can achieve a lot of great results with them and not to worry about your wallet too much. It won't be so durable in terms of color as gold or silver, but for experimenting, for working on a new design before you try gold, which is expensive, it's really a great idea. I think that's it, more or less. That's everything. I think that's everything I put into urushi. You can also put some natural materials which used to live, like pieces of leaves, of grass, of fiber, but it's very advanced technique and I don't know them. I have just once tried to put a piece of grass in urushi. It went quite well, but it was extremely difficult and it took a lot of time. So that's it. Let's play with some gold, and thank you very much. Please like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell button, and see you next time. Bye.